Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming tonight, both in person as well as the folks tuning in on Zoom. We appreciate you joining us for this important project. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Pickering Middle School project, specifically about a MEPA public forum is what we're doing tonight. We'll start off with a quick introduction of the folks up here, and then we'll get into a quick presentation, and then we'll open the floor up for questions, comments, anything you have. So to start, we'll start over here with the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Yvonne Alvarez, superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Deborah Shiro, deputy superintendent.
I'm Craig DiCarlo with the firm Left Field. We're the owner's project manager on this project, and we're joined with a couple of folks on the design side.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adrienne Lennon. I am the environmental consultant from BSC Group working on the project.
And I'm Alex Strisky from the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act Office.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Watchor, an architect from Raymond
Hear
Design.
someone saying, please fix that. If you're a little microphone, if you want to make it louder for them.
For technical overview.
Yeah. No. Okay. Or bring that speaker. Well, here and I'll speak. That's not gonna look this way. So I should stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado, we'll turn things over to Adrienne Lennon to present.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Craig. So tonight we are having our MEPA consultation and public hearing presentation. I'm going to speak for about 20 to 25 minutes about the project. And really the objective of tonight's meeting is to hear from the public about what they learn about the project in this presentation or what they have learned over time, so that we can capture it as part of the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act Office review. So Alex here is here from the Commonwealth, and he's conducting the agency review from the Commonwealth for multiple different aspects of the project, which I'll cover tonight. And hopefully we will hear a little bit about your thoughts on that before we finish. I do have a sign-in sheet, so if you have a moment, please do sign in, first name, last name, and email so we're able to track. And I'll provide Alex's contact information at the Commonwealth at the very end of the slides. So if you don't feel comfortable standing up to speak tonight, or for example, you don't have the opportunity to, you can email him anytime between now and April 8th to comment on the project. So without further ado, I will begin. So on the project team are multiple members of the City of Lynn, and that includes Jim Lamanna, Dania Smith, Michael Donovan, Laura Stockfish, and the City of Lynn School Building Committee, and also, of course, the City of Lynn School District Administration. Working with Left Field Project Management, we have Tim Baker, Lynn Stapleton, and Craig DiCarlo with me, and Raymond Design Associates with the architect, which is Jean Raymond and Steve Watch with me on the right-hand side. And then myself and a colleague of mine, Diana Walden, supporting the environmental permitting and planning piece of this project. The agenda for tonight's meeting is to go over a project summary, talk about the timeline on the project, talk about our history of community participation, discuss some of the project alternatives to explain how we got to this place, look at the existing environment, talk about the assessment of impacts as they are viewed through the lens of the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, what exactly those statutory and regulatory standards are, what we need to propose and what we are proposing as mitigation for those things, and also what's called Section 61, which specifically asks you to outline the project's impact to the environment in the face of climate change. Finally, we'll have a public comment period and hopefully have a chance to hear from all of you. So the new Pickering Middle School will serve 1,100 students in grades 6 through 8. It is a large building of 183,834 gross square feet. The project brings equity to the district, where we recently constructed the Thurgood Marshall Middle School, and that has elevated school educational programming and facilities. So this building will be 5 stories high. There will be play areas and open fields constructed on the Magnolia Avenue existing park. The preliminary schedule for the project began in 2022, and it carries forward through to 2026. As you can see right now, we are really in the center of it in 2024. We are going to be discussing a MSBA, which is the Massachusetts School Building Authority submission later on tonight. And we are in the center of the permitting process as well. In the past, in an effort to comply with the guidelines of the environmental justice policy of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, we set forth to conduct significant public outreach and community engagement. This began in July, and of course, well before that, 2023, with the project website, which is hosted as part of the entire project from 2022 to 2026. If you're looking for ongoing information about the project. In August, we sent out flyers and posters throughout town to promote the attendance of the first of 2 public forums, which we hosted here. And if you were here, you will recognize some of these slides. In addition to that, we have been posting and promoting the project on social media and in the newspaper and via backpack mailer to try to access as many members of the community as we can to talk about the project, bring in your engagement, and bring in your feedback. We also ran a survey by way of a survey service to gather some testimonial feedback from members of the community. And we got great feedback about the project, which we presented at the public forum, which we conducted, or the second public forum, which we conducted in September of 2020. So the project, as you know, has a long history. In 2016, it was sited in a different location and it did not move forward. As part of the feasibility study for this project in the beginning of 2022 and 2023, it involved looking at many different sites throughout the city where the building could have been constructed. So there was looking at Gowdy Park, looking at the Union Hospital site, the original Broadway site, and the Rockdale Avenue site for the school. For various reasons of constraint, ultimately, the Magnolia Avenue Park, Sisson, and existing Pickering school site became the most viable and feasible site for the construction. Once we arrived at the settlement of working inside of this Magnolia Park site, we had to begin thinking about what some of the constraints are on this site and what the actual parcels, the properties on which the school buildings are located will look like in the end, and how we could divide the two. So moving from that place, we had to think about how we would site the school itself on this existing set of parcels. We tried out multiple different fits to include actually moving the entire school down into the Magnolia Park area, or working with this existing Pickering school. But at the end of many different iterations, as you can see, we found that the most functional and highest use of this site and the programming that we're trying to deliver is where it's located as part of the proposed project. So the proposed siting of the school is set on the parking lot and in the footprint of the existing modular classrooms that are attached to the Sisson school, and also in the tennis court area and somewhat down below. And you can see the building itself from the lower portion of the Magnolia Park area has an elevation of 5 stories. From Panomo Ave, it has an elevation of around 3 stories. So it's multiple stories that are changing in elevation over the course of the shift down towards the park. These are some wonderful updated drawings where you can see we'll be doing landscaping all around the building, and the building is going to continue to have a relationship with the Sisson School. So the campus of education that's existing right now is going to be retained. This is the existing environment. It's just outside the door here. You can see there are significant slopes that we are working with, and there are some existing recreational facilities that we are planning to replace as part of the school project. As it is now, there are very few trees on the site. We will be planting more trees than we are losing by a wide margin, and really looking forward to restoring the park aspect of the Magnolia Park where we can. So this proposed project exceeds the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, also known as MEPA, review thresholds in 3 different places. The first is with regard to land and land use. And Magnolia Park enjoys a limited protection under something called Article 97, which is a statute of the Commonwealth that calls for protected parkland. It is possible to relieve a parcel to lift that protection only in the circumstances that you are able to provide 2-to-1 replacement and 1-for-1 in-kind replacement, 2-to-1 replacement of the acreage of land and 1-for-1 replacement of in-kind facilities. Now I know you can do 1-to-1. I see Alex making a face. You can do 1-to-1 acreage replacement, but I've never seen that go over easily. So this particular project actually has some space of land to protect, and so we've gone above and beyond in our transfer to try to make sure that we're returning more mitigation and positive environmental impact as part of this disposition process than is actually expected. The second MEPA review threshold is wetlands, waterways, and tidelands. Specifically, that is related to the ponding of water that we see outside today in the Magnolia Parkland area. That water basin is considered what's called a flood zone A. It is an inland pooling of water, area where water pools. There's no flow connected to it at this time. However, we do acknowledge that there is standing water, and there will likely continue to be, and probably more of it over time, climate change here in Lynn. So the design calls for us to compensate for that. We will be changing the site significantly in that area, moving a certain amount of soils around, and we need to make sure that in our calculations, we're able to provide exactly the same flood storage as would be proposed for any activity on that site to capture the water and prevent it from going off the site. The third of which is a transportation threshold. The threshold there is 2,000 or more new average daily trips on roadways to the site. Because of the increase in the student population with a combination of the Pickering and other students coming from other parts of the district into the school, we do anticipate a significant increase in traffic. That is captured in traffic impact assessment. And it is going to be something that we are mitigating against. In the eyes of this particular review, the ask is to mitigate the impact of additional cars on the site. So it's specifically related to the exhaust on the site. And the way that you do that, you balance that new exhaust impact, is that you improve the envelope and the functioning of the structure, the facility itself. So the building is a really high performing building in an effort to offset the overall impact of all of the activities on the site. Going back to environmental thresholds, Magnolia Avenue Park, currently protected under Article 97. The site has recreational play fields, a playground, and a basketball court. Those are the things that we're aiming to make sure that we replace in our mitigation package. The site itself is a total of 5.8 acres. It is 2 parcels, parcel number 35 and parcel number 5, you can see in the slides. We are planning to return a portion, about half of, about half of parcel number 5, where the existing Little League playing field is located, immediately back to Article 97 protection. There are no activities proposed on that portion of the site. However, it is part of the entire parcel, so it is within the scope of the entire project. The other portion of the site where we are building the school is significantly. So the total number of acres that we need to replace as part of this are captured in our mitigation. The process to do this work began about a year ago. To actually lift that limited protection of conservation from the Magnolia Park parcels, we needed a unanimous vote of approval from the Conservation Commission, unanimous vote of approval from the Parks Commission. We also obtained approval from the Cemetery Commission. It also needs a 2/3 majority vote of the City Council and the ratification of the Executive Mayor's Office before you are petitioning the legislature to act. So at that point, the General Court, through the House and Senate, need to review this request, and they need to vote this 2/3 approval. So the matter was taken up locally in the spring of last year, and in August, after going through multiple boards, committees, and commissions, for that unanimous approval, the City Council did vote to advance this to their delegates at the General Court. So since the middle of August of last year, this has been sitting with the House and Senate. It is now out of subcommittee and hopefully coming to a vote in the near future. As far as the future of the parcel, a playground and basketball court will be provided for the project for community recreational purposes. The existing playground and basketball court out there are going to be retained generally in the same location. We're creating a pocket park on the frontage of Magnolia Avenue so that the public is still able to access the site even after a school is constructed there, because the safety of the school envelope is a separate concern that we have to consider. So we're holding on to a park in the front for the public, and then we're also making sure that we are separating the rest of the school project enough so that we're able to contain it if there is ever a need. In addition to that, and that park actually is likely also to be transferred back into the Article 97 protection after it has been constructed. The baseball field, as I mentioned, occupying 1.32 acres of parcel 5 will be relieved of the Article 97 protection for a temporary period of time, and then it will be reassigned to that. So when identifying a replacement parcel, the Division of Conservation Services and the Executive Office really like to see a parcel that is nearby. As much as possible, if you can try to retain the green space within the community that you're taking it away from, you're doing the best that you can to try to compensate for that loss. So in this case, we identified the replacement parcel on the unprotected Breeds Reservoir site, which was also a school building site within the visibility phase. And we are protecting a significant portion of that parcel in an effort to provide the one-for-one, mitigation and return some ecological value to this part of the community. The existing Magnolia Avenue Park and the Breeds Reservoir land that is also on the frontage of Parkland Avenue are about a half mile. So there were no available sites in the existing Pickering area that were large enough for that 1-to-1 ratio of converted replacement land. This was really the only option that we had to look for. So we calculated exactly what acreage we needed to remove, the net removal from Article 97, which was 3.15 acres of Magnolia Park parcels, and they're going to be replaced by 7.334 acres of transfers, what we're calling swap land on the Parkland Avenue site. One of the most important considerations was to find the site that was geographically located. We were able to do that. And we were also able to protect undeveloped land. There is an existing salt shed run by the DPW on the site that will be moved and will be restored on that portion of the site, but the dog park is going to be remaining. On the matter of wetlands, waterways, and tidelands, as I mentioned, we are all aware that there is a certain amount of pooling water in that park. It exists in, it's called the FEMA 100-year floodplain Zone A. And Zone A floodplain is an inland flood area where it does not have an assigned elevation. And we went through great extremes to make sure we could find the elevation for that entire parkland area. It's relatively flat and very small increments of change before you hit the hillside. But we had to define every single inch of it so that we were able to make sure that when we do move the area around, we're capturing all of the available flood storage that exists there now and more. So under the Wetlands Protection Act of the Commonwealth, this is a resource area that is protected called bordering land subject to flooding, and it does require what's called elevation for elevation compensatory flood storage. The design does perform to that standard, and the project was submitted as a notice of intent application to the Conservation Commission earlier this month. It was assigned a DEP file number. We had a hearing. It was open and closed, and we are awaiting the issuance of the order of conditions. In addition to that, the city of Lynn, under their ordinance, has a 100-foot buffer zone between wetlands and streams. So this shows exactly how we're going to achieve this compensatory flood storage. The existing conditions plan, probably a little bit small on the screen, but you can see that there's very little change in elevation on the plan itself. However, we are in need of flood storage. And so these darker areas, the triangle and the other polygon to the right of it on the site, are actually going to be underground water storage containers that will be attached to the drainage system and eventually discharge systems. It's all an existing system. We are going to be creating the underground storage capacity. On top of that will be green space. That is the retained green space in the park. There will be some trees planted there, but we won't be able to put too many because of the storage being fit. The next environmental threshold is the transportation threshold. That is the 2,000 average daily trips that are anticipated to come to the site. Again, a traffic impact assessment was conducted, and we have been very careful about designing the traffic flow on the site to limit the amount of options that there are to arrive on the site. So there is a singular entrance and a singular exit off of Magnolia Ave that will be used to access the site. In addition, there is flow around the site for fire trucks and other emergency vehicles, for buses and other uses if there were ever a need. The proposed building itself, you can see, is a very compact floor plan. Every single square inch of it is going to be used. There is a lovely balcony out on the front of it, and many of the classrooms have entirely south-facing windows, so it's going to be a very bright, very open, airy feeling on that building, and the facing view of most of the school is back down towards the park. So impacts to the project site, the developed site, it will be cut and regraded to create the appropriate, consistent, and stable slope to support roadways, sidewalks, buildings, and the stormwater system. You're going to see significant site work out here, especially in the area of the tennis court and the existing backstop of the former diamond field that is no longer there anymore. The project is going to convert a portion of the previously maintained lawn and recreational area into the development, which includes a retaining wall, roadways, sidewalks, and parking. And the project also requires this disposition of the Article 97 parcels, which is both legislative act and also a review act of the executive office happening in tandem. Section 61 is the section that I mentioned earlier that specifically asks projects of a certain size to consider climate change and the impacts of climate change as part of the project design. So we went through by each threshold to make sure that we were able to provide mitigation for each impact. The first impact is the land impact, which is the Article 97 disposition of Magnolia Park. We're providing a 2-to-1 replacement of disposition land at Breed's Reservoir. And we're also going to be providing significant facilities upgrades to what's existing there now. The wetlands threshold calls for that elevation for elevation compensatory flood storage. We have done significant due diligence, not only to find the elevation, but also to find the flood storage performance. And then the transportation threshold is going to be offset by providing electric vehicle charging stations in some of the parking spaces, bicycle racks for students that ride their bike to school, and continued participation in Safe Routes to School programming. So the next steps for this project are to complete the Article 97 disposition process and complete the MEPA review process. We are in the middle of MEPA review right now, and we are here to solicit public comment specifically, and also ask you to please provide written comment as well so that we can respond to that as we continue to review. We are aiming to complete estimating and establish the total project budget and schedule. It is currently estimated to be approximately $170 million at the preferred schematic phase. And we would like to complete and submit the detailed design submission to MSBA, which the School Building Committee is here to talk about later on tonight. So the project has its own website, pickeringmsbuildingproject.com. There's a YouTube channel, and then also you can email Alex Strisky, who is here tonight. This is his email address at mass.gov. Happy to circulate it. It's on a lot of the literature right now, between now and April 8th, to provide him with your comments on the project. And with that, we'll turn it over to public comment. When you do come up to the microphone, if you will please state your first name and last name. And if you have a particular interest in the project, or if you would like to share your address, that's helpful too. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I'll kick us off, I suppose. My name is Brian LaPierre. I live at 2 Grant Street here in Lynn. I'm a city councilor, councilor at large, on the building committee. My comments tonight, though, are more in line with my son who goes here and has gone here, and my oldest son is a 10th grader in classical, also a 10th grader. And, you know, to go back in time a little bit to what you mentioned in 2016, as a parent, I had dreams and aspirations for my children to be able to go to a new Pickering now, which could have been opened now, and was extremely disappointed by the community vote in 2017 that stopped that from occurring. So although my son, who's in grade 7, currently will never experience a new school, I know that future generations of children are going to have that opportunity now, from the fine work that's been done and the groundwork that's been laid in a real positive way, in a way that involves the community and our allies and supporters of public education. And make no mistake, it's very difficult to build new schools. Our administration recognizes that. The community recognizes that. We could have had 2 new middle schools that we could have fixed the generational bulge of the middle school 5 through 8 in this city, and for the cost of one, for the cost of this thing. So it's bittersweet in a way, in terms of the positivity that this school is going to mirror the equity piece that you mentioned at Marshall and so forth. We're really pleased as to where we are, where we're heading, particularly for families to stay in Lynn and make a decision to keep their children at the middle school and not run to, let's say, a private education or a charter education or even out of city and town, which definitely happened to us back in 2017. We lost dozens of Lynn families all around these neighborhoods and communities due to that vote. So I'm happy to see that we're moving toward this wonderful sort of groundbreaking. And I really thank all of the work that's been started since 2022. And are really happy for future students to attend this new building. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my wife, who's also an educator here at Pickering, and has been so for at least a decade and in the system for the past 24 years. And all of the other staff that have been persevering, let's say, through untenable learning conditions, because the staff working conditions are also the students' learning conditions. And we should never lose sight of those two criteria of how well buildings are not only constructed, but the educational quality that happens within our school classrooms. And I say that this staff is second to none in terms of providing that. The students, the parents, the community of Pickering have settled for this building, not at its finest. I recall our state treasurer, Deb Goldberg, coming in here in 2013 and having a ceiling fall on her head. So those are the things that I recall going back 10 years now. And we've done a great job with Mr. Donovan, our ISD commissioner, of trying to, pardon the phrase, lipstick on a pig, but it had come up during the time of the debate back in 2017 and Band-Aid fixes. And where we've come from just to make this habitable is a miracle in itself. And I can't wait to see what the future lies for this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Gately. I live at 123 Edgemere Road in Lynn, Mass. I worked here at Pickering Middle School from 2006 to 2013 when I retired. I was in a science classroom where I was the fortunate one in the building because I had a sink so that I could do ice cream experiment and take heat out of the mixture. So my children have a positive experience in the classroom. So the teachers in this building, they dig deep to find ways to provide positive lessons to our students. I was so disappointed when the building didn't go through in 2017, and Mr. Lapierre was so correct because we lost so many students to private schools. So many students right now are going from certain elementary schools and saying, oh no, I can't go to that. I gotta go to this school. And their parents have to pay a lot of money to go there. And the children that don't have the money to pay, they're sitting in this building wondering why they can't be with their friends. So this is so necessary. This project, we worked hard on this project. I did not know how much work went into a project like this. I just did not sit on the last building committee, but just picking that location, it was so difficult. I can't even express it because this doesn't work, and that doesn't meet the requirements, and this doesn't meet the requirements. And then we have to move and find another piece of property because this is a pot and we have to replace it. So there were so many things, and I was also getting phone calls from parents concerned about the building, concerned about things that weren't happening in this building. Oh, we have to replace this, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I would get a lot of those calls. And then you look at the core ISD, Inspectional Services Department, they're really overburdened trying to maintain and getting a new building will save our city money, will save our workers and ISD time. We have them come and repair. And there's one thing I want all of us in this room to notice, how warm it is in here. You know, and can we regulate the heating system? Teachers ask me that all the time. One teacher, when I was working in this building over here in I think it was 109. She was an English teacher. She lifted up the window and it dropped on her arm and almost broke her arm. It wasn't during your time, Dr. Evans, but it was like a long time ago. Mr. Ritterhouse would remember that. So we really need to get this project going. I am so excited to take off the champagne bottle because we're going to get the shovels in the ground. It's going to get going. People throughout our community will be saying, who's talking about the school? And I'm not sure that they can, anybody out there in the world that's watching will know that is the truth. And that's all I have to say. You can't stress it, come and sit down, we have a lot of things plans. Thank you.
I do have a few questions that I've answered, if you want to give me the microphone. The microphone, oh, sorry.
Hey, everybody, Brant Duncan, 100 Commonwealth Road. I'm here in a few different capacities, but not too long ago, I taught middle school math here in 111 for 10 years, so I know well the needs of the school. Similar to Mr. Lapierre, Ms. Gately, a number of us were active back in 2016 on the campaign for 2 new schools. You know, 6 years ago, March 21st, 2017, that we lost the vote. So this is a wonderful, wonderful development for our community. We're so thankful for all of the support. You know, Gene Raymond, Lynn Stapleton, Dr. Latham. There was a whole team back that started the initiative back in 2015, 2016, and it continues. We know there's an incredible need. I also serve as the president of the Pickering PTO. We hear from parents, we hear from teachers, we hear from students how important the school facilities are to learning. And, you know, Dr. Alvarez just articulated, you know, one of her visions for the STEAM Academy and what a school facility and school resources means for our kids' learning experiences. So thank you. We're excited. We're welcoming this. We hope the momentum continues. I would add, though, one of the comments with regards to the space displacement, moving over to Parkland Ave, how important that is for our communities. If you folks were to come by here on a Saturday afternoon and see the number of community members playing soccer, playing softball, you know, the kids after school using the parks, you know, both system kids, Pickering kids, it's really a valuable and important resource. And although it's a half-mile away, you all know the difficulty in terms of the traffic from here to there. So however we can replicate and enhance the space for our community over off of Parkland Ave for our kids would be greatly appreciated. I don't know if that's the purview of this committee or not, but the city of the whole, I know this is important. And we look forward to the day when we raise the steel beam and celebrate with the ironworkers, the new school for our community. Thank you all.
I'll let him speak. This is off.
Oh, I live on 37 Willow Ave over here. So a couple of questions, maybe this is not going more, but the traffic for, you know, the opening of the school and closing of the school, very heavy. Construction trucks, is it coming down to Willow Ave during that same time? Do we know about how that's going to be mitigated? Or is that not part
Do you
of this?
want to answer
Yeah. So thank you for the question. We don't have anyone here from construction managers team. However, we are aware that they're looking carefully at site logistics and traffic around the site. So yes, there will be sometimes discomfort, but they're going to time deliveries, pickups, so that they're not overlapping with student drop-off. So there will be a little bit of pain, but we're working to mitigate that as much as possible.
Great. And then, is there any plans? I heard the entrance to the school and exit from the school is going to be on Magnolia Ave. Is that street going to be changed at all as part of this? Widened or anything like that? You know how it's hard to park there just for soccer games?
It is not. The parking lot is provided on site in an effort for people to be able to park there if they need to. But the Magnolia Avenue right of way is not within the scope of the project. The project is only on the parcels that we're working with for the school building project.
So how about the drop off and pickup of children? It's going to be through that parking lot?
Yes, that's correct. So it loops around the parking lot and it's a one-way circuit. So everybody has to travel in the same way, do all the drop off in the same location, and then circle back around and exit out of the same way.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few questions that came in through the webinar, and I have answered some of them because I knew the answer, but I'd want to just share them with everyone. One question was, is the entire new building going in the current parking lot where the temporary classrooms are at Sisson? I did respond to that yes, the plan is to use the lot and remove the modular as part of the land use for the new building. The classroom and office space that is lost as part of the modular will be recreated in the current Pickering building. Another question that was asked, when will the building be built? I responded, it is expected to be ready for fall 2026 if there are no delays in construction. And then a follow-up question, if the building was built, would the old Pickering school be destroyed? My response to that was, the plan is not to destroy it, but rather refurbish areas for the use for Sisson School. For example, gym, auditorium, cafeteria. Sisson School does not have those areas, and it would be great if the school could. And then there was another question, what would happen if the process of the building would be delayed due to weather? And I simply just responded that it would just delay the opening, but the work will continue and we are looking to get students and teachers in as quickly as possible. And then there's a question that I'm not sure how to answer. If the building was if the building was more than 5.8 arches, what would everyone do? I'm not sure what that means. To clarify, please.
We're asking for clarification on that question.
In the meantime, if there are any other questions. Oh, I think they mean acres. I meant what were to happen.
I can try to answer that. I can say that Steve would be really relieved if he had more than 5 acres to work with for the project. The Breeze Reservoir site is a very large site. We are not conserving all of it as part of the mitigation. So we would have included probably whatever was going to be the existing site swap as a 2-to-1 in the swap on the Breeze Reservoir site. So there is significantly more acreage behind what we're conserving on the frontage of the roadway of parkland that can be used for future Article 97 mitigation purposes or would be in this case. Coming up.
But so it sounds like there's still going to be a Magnolia Park here with basketball court and play area.
Yep.
But also the reservoir is going to be additional parks.
So at the reservoir, a large portion of the site that we are conserving is the wetland that is behind the dog park. So it's the dog park, the wetland that's behind it, and then there's an upland area where the existing salt shed is, and that's going to be removed. I think once that salt shed comes down, it may turn out to be actually significantly large open space of grassed area. I don't know that it will be large enough for a regulation rectangle field. I don't think that that's quite possible because of the ledge outcrop that's right behind it. And then it drops off down in the other direction into the wetland, but it will definitely be a place where kids could ride their bike and go and play.
Would Magnolia Park still have place for the soccer teams to play, or is that not too big?
It's not going to be large enough for a regulation field. It's actually not right now. It will have some grass areas where the kids will be able to kick a soccer ball around. We intentionally designed the landscape in the Magnolia Park so that there's connectivity between the Magnolia Pocket Park that we are going to put on Magnolia Ave frontage and the school parkland areas. So that grass area that's over the stormwater system it's actually larger than we think it is. And then multiple playgrounds servicing schools.
Thank you.
It's warm.
So could you expand on the parkland again? So I guess we're losing 2 tennis courts, a basketball court, a couple of baseball fields, and I understand it's not a regulation soccer field, but it's certainly something that folks make use of. And what's being proposed is just the existing stuff, shed, so that's perhaps going to be open spaces. Is there any tennis courts, basketball courts, baseball fields, or soccer fields going to be placed over there?
Well, just to correct that suggestion at the beginning, so the tennis courts actually exist on school property. They are not on the Article 97 properties, so they do not need to be replaced. We have the one Little League baseball field that is a regulation diamond field where we are conserving baseball fields as it is exactly now. So that's the 1-for-1 its own kind. And then the basketball courts are going to be replaced almost in the same location on the frontage. The playground is going to be moved closer to the basketball court so that the traffic circuit is around it. So those two will be replaced in time. And then the existing open space fields, we're going to be trying to retain as much open space as we can landscape, and then that more open space for the parkland site. If the city does decide sometime in the future that they want to make improvements to either the dog park or the open land that's next to it once the salt shed comes down, it's absolutely their prerogative.
With regards to the tennis courts, that's under the school department, whether they make the community homework by replacing that existing service. You say, so it's not under the purview of that, they don't have to do it, but the question is whether they should.
It's not I would not even call it a should. I think that is valid, certainly a valid ask. But it's not going to be a requirement under the MSBA for the school building, and it's not a requirement for the Article 97 disposition.
Thank you.
I received a question. Is the auditorium still being considered as a housing space for some of the Sisson classrooms? If so, will there still be a drama theater program at Pickering? Where will Sisson have their concerts during the building? So first of all, yes, this space will be converted into classrooms, but not necessarily for the Sisson classrooms. They will be middle school classrooms, and Kevin has so graciously allowed us to use other spaces for the Sisson to replace the Sisson classrooms. So we've been working with both schools, Deputy Goris and myself, with both schools' principals to plan out options for both the concerts and drama presentations, as well as the graduation moving on ceremonies. We will be using the gym space while the auditorium is being used for classrooms. Oh, new question. During construction, how will parking for staff at both Pickering and Sisson be handled? I don't know if you guys.
So
Go ahead.
So we do, that was all the questions from online. So we do have an upcoming meeting in April 23rd. That's going to be a Pickering and Sisson parent meeting at which we will discuss all matters having to do with temporary logistics, parking, where the kids are going to play, and any other questions that the Pickering and Sisson parents and interested parties might have. So I would encourage them to come to that. I don't have a diagram, but we will definitely have diagrams at that meeting.
There are no additional questions from the webinar at this time.
Since I know this comes up a lot at the PTO meetings, Dr. Burris, could you help us visualize what the classroom space would look like here in the auditorium? So this is going to be converted into classrooms. We understand it's going to be Pickering students here. What's that going to look like?
Steve, you want to speak to that, or?
So it would be temporary. There will be, there's 3 classrooms, 2 classrooms, 2 or 3, and an office. The main points, the stairwell there, so you have access to the rest of the school. We would build temporary partitions and ceilings and everything required for proper education.
So it will be enclosed with ceilings?
Yes.
And then presumably there'll be space up front for the kids to use, or is that a different?
To use for.
So there's 2 classrooms here. I think one of the concepts or proposals was to continue to allow space towards the front of the auditorium for the kids that are in the class.
I think it's using most of the auditorium space for those 2 classrooms and office.
I know that Mr. Donovan has shared with us that the stage and a little portion of the front here will be available, say for like meeting space or small group student work. But the majority of this space will be enclosed classrooms. There also in the gym there are some spaces, an office space and the locker rooms that are being converted as well into classroom space. They're pretty good sized locker rooms. And so those are being converted into space as well. Those classrooms, an office, and I believe 2 classrooms within Pickering, but closest to Sisson, are being used to replace the modular space, which was 4 classrooms and an office.
The locker rooms you're talking about adjacent to the gym?
Yeah, yeah.
So those are going to be converted into classroom
Into
space?
classroom space, correct.
Those will be for the Sisson students or the Pickering students?
Sisson. We want to keep the Sisson students as close to Sisson as we can.
And as Craig mentioned, we'll have those plans to share with the April 23rd.
I have, I think, 2. Is the old Pickering going to still open when the new Pickering opens? Yes and no. I would say that the spaces like the gym, cafeteria, auditorium, when it's brought back to its original state, will definitely be accessible to the Sisson students and families. As far as the remainder of the building, I'm not sure yet how that will be utilized. We have a lot of buildings, as we all know, that need replacing. And so I know that the city and the school department are committed to trying to improve all of our schools. And so as we start the next phase, it could be utilized as swing space to allow for a building to be either refurbished or rebuilt. And then a second question, will the old, oh, it was the same question, never mind. So I answered it. I have no questions.
Okay. So, does anyone in the public, or anyone in the audience still have any questions? This will be last call. Otherwise, you're welcome to reach out to Alex at the MEPA office or comment directly to the MEPA Environmental Monitor. And you can Google that, EPA Environmental Monitor, and it will pull it up. You can find project for the Lynn Pickering School is project number 16805. Submit your comments online there, or you can email Alex, Alexander Strisky at mass.gov.
Sorry, one quick question came in. Sisson is getting new HVAC. And Mike, can you just confirm for me? I'm answering yes, Sisson is getting a new HVAC system this summer. Yes. Sorry.
All right, well, seeing none, hearing none, thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate your comments and your feedback and your support for the school. Looking forward to moving forward with the project. Stay informed on the Pickering website. Stay around tonight for the school building committee meeting. And thank you again for being here. Thank you, Dr. Thank you.